we go. Yeah, this is a little video to update our petition to David Cameron. What's the other one's name? Theresa May. And what's the other one's name? I can't remember their names. Michael Gove. That's the guy who took over from Chris Grayling, who, well, said he was doing something on the matter, but I haven't seen the results. So I have to say congratulations to Mr. Saddiq Khan on being sworn in today as the new London mayor and filling the boots of Mr. Johnson, Boris. But it won't be any easy task, but I'm sure you're up to it. I'm very proud of you as a Londoner and a fellow ethnic man, which makes all ethnic people proud, including Scots, Welsh, Irish. You have the distinction of being a melanated man, so I'm sure that will be a factor at some point. But you know, we've seen Giuliani in New York doing a wonderful job, so I'm sure you can do the same. So let's get on to it. I have a list of 10 requests I'm kindly asking you to look into as a fellow Londoner. And these are very important issues that Mr. Boris Johnson failed to deal with properly. So I hope you can do so, and I can tell you, living and working in London many decades, that these are urgent matters and they're not always in the limelight. So we're going to start with human rights. Most Londoners do not have access to human rights, particularly in the justice system. So that needs urgent attention. The right to liberty, the right to a fair trial, the right to peaceable enjoyment of your home. Very basic things. The second matter is taxation. We have massive corporations setting up in London on the basis that they can make shed loads of money and not pay any tax. Let's just cut to the chase, Mr. Khan. This is crime. They should be paying tax, and there's people in the government who are bypassing the requirement for them to pay tax. So get the tax from the people who owe the tax and who are manipulating the system and using the money they save in the tax basically to bribe their way through the system, knowing all the people who can do something are in their bloody pockets. So on the other hand, many small people, employed and self-employed and running small businesses, are being hounded by the HMRC and a band of criminals known as Rosendales and lots of illegal enforcement officers, so to speak, breaking people's doors, all illegally. This is a scandal and you need to do something about it. If the proper people pay their proper tax, we don't need to be hounding the average person who voted for you in these aggressive ways. Number 8, I'm counting down from 10 to 1. So number 8, Mr. Saddiq, we have privatization. The whole place is being privatized, left, right and center. Some of the privatization is known, like Northern Rock, and it's a PLC and it's on the stock market, and some of it is hidden. My understanding is that 60% of all the funding for the NHS is coming from private drugs companies. That's not donations, that's bribes. And people are probably getting drugs that probably there's alternative ways to treat them, or alternative drugs. But there's a plethora of companies setting up to milk the NHS. We had an example in a recent scandal where a company was selling screws for £8 to the NHS that cost 20p. Now these people should go to jail. It's theft. Let's just get to the chase. These privatized companies, they set up on a public-private partnership to fail. First they run down the service to justify taking it over, then they milk it to the max, and then they dump it back on the government for the taxpayer to pick it up. And then they redo the whole thing again, and it's just a way of extracting money from the average taxpayer, and this has got to stop. Number 7, the criminal justice system. I'm talking from personal experience. There is no criminal justice system in London and in England. We have a make-believe setup that is running on the system of criminality. I'm going to come back to it because it's such an important matter. No country, no city can run without a proper criminal justice system. So we have people who are committing crimes who should be in the criminal court are getting on the civil, getting off on civil fines. I'm talking about bankers here, and I like the people who scam the whole country with PPI. I'm a financial advisor for nearly 30 years, and if I did any such things, I would expect reasonably to be locked up. I don't see any of these people locked up. So, as the new mayor, Mr. Saddiq, Mr. Khan, sorry, I want to see you do something about this. Crime is crime is crime is crime. On the other hand, there is a lot of innocent people, some of them with mental health, especially younger people, who are being routinely shafted by the justice system to fill the privatized prisons. It's like a sponsored hotel by us taxpayers and the government. These people invariably don't have proper representation, and they are being given fake court orders that they have sentences to serve when there is no such order, and it's all make-believe. It is such a lucrative business that the councils are getting onto the act, and I'm going to come back to that. And something close to my heart, and I'm sure yours as well as a man of family, youth clubs. When you reach a certain age in your important years in your development, there is nothing for you to do. You can play as much computer games, and you can drink beer, and you can eat junk food, and anything else you do, there's nothing else for you to do. I've done a lot of charity work with young people, and I have identified this as a major problem. These young people are going to discover themselves, discover their talents, build relationships and bonds in their communities, and not to go out stabbing each other and getting involved in gang culture when there is no alternative. So you've got to re-establish the youth clubs that have been shut down and sold off to property developers left, right and center. We're coming now, number 5, Mr. Khan, money laundering. London is becoming renowned as the money laundering capital of the world. And that is not a good reputation for a city to have. Because at some point, the gangsters who are dumping their dirty money in London, particularly in the property market, are going to turn around. They're going to want control. They probably have control already. They're going to come to your door. They're going to want you to do things. They're going to want planning permission. They're going to want that council block over there. They're going to want that playing fields. They're going to want to put a shopping mall. And this has to be addressed, because when they decide to turn and take their laundered money somewhere else, we're going to be left with that almighty crash, which is not going to, the city is not going to be able to deal with. And I will come back some more to do with money laundering and the property market. Number 4, discrimination, Mr. Khan. Discrimination is rife in the society and in the city of which you are the new mayor. There is one law for them and one law for us. Us means the people who are not part of criminal gangs running the show. So we're talking now about discrimination on the basis of class, race, and who is in control in the police and in the court, in social services, and just about anywhere, housing. We've got people being turfed out of their houses because of who they are, and they don't apparently belong in that area or whatever. So discrimination, one law for them, one law for us, has got to be rooted out. It's got to be equality. Otherwise, what's the outcome? How are people going to obtain justice? Just imagine. Number 3, and this is a part and parcel of everything else going on. Big one here. Fraud on the court. In my personal experience, and a lot of people I happen to have crossed paths with are having exactly the same problem. Nothing that comes out of an English court and a British court nowadays can be trusted. That's where it's gone. People are processing cases and documentation in the courts with no lawful backing and fraudulently. We have a scandal where gangsters like Eversheds and other people acting for bankers and for other criminal outfits are not even paying the court into a court now and pick up a leaflet and ask for the very basic information that the court is there to provide. You cannot file a document into court and get a sealed copy to prove that you have filed your document. In my personal experience, a district judge Parfit made an order to steal my property on the basis I did not file a document, because I had to drop it in a dirty little box outside the court, and then he said I filed nothing in court. And I find this experience is being repeated everywhere. The courts have got to be opened, and when someone files a claim into court against another individual, the claim has to be proper before the staff on the court can make it a part of a court proceeding. The fraud on the court is rife. Judges are considering these claims that are not constituted in any way, shape or form, and making decisions. The police are working with them and harassing people, and it's a big scam by a number of people. You have seen the Hillsborough revelations, 27 years of cover-up. And I was told just yesterday by police who have kidnapped one of my friends that Hillsborough was a long time ago. It's only last week they were in court fighting the case. It's not a long time ago, it's now. And it's a scandal, and it's going on and on and on. Number 2, Mr. Khan. Housing. London, hotspot of housing, property hotspot. Across gentrification and money laundering coming into London. people are buying these properties in London with offshore companies and locking them up. They're called envelopes, which I'm sure you know about. And it's nothing more than people in London allowing the money to be brought into the city to shelter and to evade the discovery of what they're doing and where they got their money. Unfortunately, it's having a devastating effect on Londoners who have been turfed out left, right and centre of their property because the property is required by some foreign entity whose source of money is never being identified. So this is a huge problem. It's a form of ethnic cleansing going on in London, which I'm sure you're aware of. But the extreme of that is people who have council houses whose the value of their property has gone up because of this artificial bubble are being bullied and turfed out illegally with fraud on the court and other methods. I have one gentleman come to me recently who is 82 years old, and the council reported him as dead and then goes to the court and obtain an eviction order. Unbelievable stuff going on. And it goes 2, 3, 4 times and the police comes along and supports the crime. And this man, as I speak to you right now, is on the streets homeless. Or maybe he's not on the street, but he's homeless. They have knocked him out of his property and nothing of it is lawful. Number 1 and final, top of the list, we're talking about terrorism. Being a man from a Muslim background, I'm sure this is close to your heart. We all heard of 9/11, which they've used to justify lots of extreme terrorist law. Now, 9/11, as we all know, and when you slow the video down when the plane hit that building, it was a military plane that had no windows, so it wasn't any uniform. There was a panorama program exposing it all, people selling their uniform for £150 a go, rental to burglars who can go and terrorize people. All false. There were 37,000 people turfed out of their house in 2014, and it is estimated 20,000 of them are terrorist attacks on the people. My own baby, under 5, was thrown on the street on 3 occasions, and no laws in this country allow such an action to take place. So we have terrorism here on a grand scale, right here, day and night, up and down the country. But we're talking about London primarily, and this you have to stop, Mr. Khan. People to be taken from their house, you must make sure that the laws are being followed. I have a petition and a campaign going on with Michael Gove, Theresa May and David Cameron. And I want you to support it, and I want something to be done. I'm asking for a parliamentary inquiry, but I'm also asking for the criminals to be brought to justice. And you have 2 choices, Mr. Khan. You can join the gangsters or you can work with the law. Thank you very much.